topic that you should be very comfortable speaking about is movies. Why movies? Because everyone enjoys movies. No matter what country you're living in, you've all seen a movie. We all love different types of movies, and so that's why it's a good conversational piece or topic to talk about. But how do you talk about movies? I find many students, including natives sometimes, they ramble. They talk on and on when you ask them, "Seen any good movies lately?" And by the time they finish telling you about the movie, you're not interested anymore. While they're talking, you might even be thinking, "I don't think I want to see this movie. I don't even know what this movie is about. I don't know what this person is talking about." The reason is because it's not organized. So I'm going to show you a great way to talk about movies to be fluent. And so we have a nice flow as we move from one point to the next. And really, again, you need to be comfortable talking about movies because it's a great conversational starter. If you are at a party or a gathering or some business event, you can simply ask the person, "Have you seen any good movies lately?" That is always a great topic because people love to talk about the movies they enjoy and the movies they've seen. But how do you talk about movies? Let's get started. The movies, it can be really exciting to talk about the movies, especially something that we recently saw and we really enjoyed it. I don't know about you, but I love eating popcorn when I get to the movies. I don't know what you enjoy, but let's take a look at some movies. So here are some common movies. Of course, you do have to be aware that, as you already probably know, the title often changes from country to country. So a movie called The Beautiful Mind might be called something else in your native language. So just be aware of that. And if you know you might have to talk about a movie, maybe check what the English title is for it. I don't know if you've seen any of these. Of course, I'm not endorsing any of these. It's just to show that we all enjoy different types of movies. So how do we talk about them? Let's get to it. The first thing that you should know is the genre of the movie. So the genre is a formal word for the type of movie or the kind of movie. So if somebody asks you, what kind of movie is it? You should be ready to answer. So it could be a comedy, a sci-fi, it's a horror, it's an action movie, it's a romantic comedy, right? Other things too. It's a documentary, it's based on a true life story, things like that. So think about the genre. The next thing people usually like to know is who are the actors or actresses or the stars. So who's in it or who's starring in it. So Tom Cruise is in it. Orlando Bloom is starring in it. Then we'd like to know the background or the setting. So the setting of a book, the setting of a movie is the background. Where? Where does it take place? And when does it take place? So you can start your sentence by saying it's set in, New York. It's set in Australia. It takes place in New York in the 60s. It takes place on the moon in the future. It takes place in a prison. So do you see how we're starting to progress? We're starting to open it up a little bit more. Start with the genre, then tell the person who's in it, the actors, actresses, and the setting and the background. So the next thing that you want to move to is the plot or the story. And this is where the conversation often breaks down. This is where people start to ramble. The question is, what's it about? What happens in it? You should be able to do this pretty concisely. Just a few sentences. So here's how you can structure what you say. It's about who? For example, it's about two young people who fall in love on a sinking ship. It's about a meteor that is going to destroy the Earth. Very simple. We don't want to give away the whole movie, of course, but we want to give them a general idea of what it's about. The next thing is you go to the climax. So the climax is where everything comes together in the movie. You found out who did the murder. You find out who stole the money, whatever the case is. How does it end? What happens in the end? Of course, you want to make sure that you don't give that away and ask the listener, would you like to know what happens in the end? So I've had people just tell me what happens, and then I think, hey, I was going to see that movie. So you could say, in the end, the ring is destroyed. In the end, Harry decides he really loves Sally. And the last thing that you can add on or talk about is the reviews. You can give your own review. You can be your own critic. But often we can talk about what newspapers are saying or television shows that specialize in critiquing movies. What did the critics say? What kind of reviews did it get? So you can start by saying the critics, or it got reviews. So the critics said it was good. The critics panned it, or we say in American English, the critics hated it. Or they disliked it. It was not given favorable reviews. Or the critics raved about it or really loved it. It got great reviews. It got poor reviews. So this is the progression of how to talk about movies. Go from one movie to the other. So here's an assignment that you can do on your own time. And this is downloadable. So take a look at it and practice talking about a movie, even just talking to yourself. Say, I recently saw a movie that was a comedy. Tom Cruise is in it. It's set in New York in the 90s. Right? And just go to the next one. Oh, it's about a woman and man that fall in love and live happily ever after, or whatever the story is. In the end, they have 6 children and they move to New Zealand. I loved it. I give it 5 stars. You should see it. Something like that. So practice that, and it could really make talking about movies enjoyable.